One of the most mysterious creatures to have ever been reported or discussed in modern times from the Caribbean region of the world is that of the Chupacabra from the island of Puerto Rico. A mysterious and highly unknown creature, there are massive debates as to what it is exactly, as well as the controversies of the origins of it. The first official instance of a so-called sighting of a chupacabra on the island was in the year of 1995. However, vague examples of animals being killed deep in the Puerto Rican countryside go as far back as the mid-1970s, with in 1975 in the deep northwest of the island in the town of Mocha, as these were killings allegedly done by El Vampiro de Mocha, or the Vampire of Mocha. Nothing of the sort had ever been witnessed or experienced in the island before, so initial claims as to what were the causes of the animal mutilations and deaths were considered cultish activities, as later on more animals were reported across the island being killed by farmers, as the notable details which linked all of them together were that most or all of the blood from the animals were extracted through small incisions made upon the corpses. Eventually, the animal cases stopped and the island's community later forgot about the Mocha killings, until the first modern cases were discovered in March of 1995, as a number of sheep were found dead with puncture wounds and the cadavers were completely drained of blood. These killings had no sightings of the creature that had reportedly killed the animals, but later in August of the same year, an eyewitness, Madeline Tolentino, reported seeing the creature in the town of Canovanas in the northeast, which was a completely different region from the 1975 reports. Even when the cases first emerged soon after the 1995 incident, there wasn't a technical name for the creature. A comedian from the island came up with the term Chupacabras in an attempt to describe the creature or creatures that had emerged upon the island. When the reports first emerged from the island, there was a small panic on the island due to what could it be, and if these reports were true, then what would the livestock of the people living on the island be in potential danger? Would the creature eventually attack people? Would the island authorities do anything? All of these questions were asked at the time, but due to lack of credible information, there wasn't actually much done in terms of prevention or learning what the chupacabra was. There wasn't actually much done. The island authorities, as well as the United States governmental representatives, were very intent on denying what was actually going on in the islands during the mid to late 1990s, and official inquiries also didn't alleviate the worries of the people on the island, as eventually the sightings dissipated once more, and the islanders now say that there was essentially a mass panic as a result of what had happened, and lack of a clear explanation as to what the chupacabras were, if anything at all. Despite the well-known cases from the mid to late 1990s, since then there have been claims of the chupacabras being seen in other regions of South America and even the southwestern United States, where there are substantial Latin or Hispanic populations of people. To avoid any such problems as witnessed and experienced from the island, initial claims of the chupacabra sightings in other regions of North America as well as South America, as mentioned, were actually suppressed. In the early 2010s, various scientists later re-evaluated the cases from the mid-1990s. All sources later halted that much of the original evidence from the mid-1990s weren't credible by modern forensic standards. On the re-evaluation of records, halted that the Puerto Rican cases weren't handled properly and were actually dismissed as being mere circumstantial cases of animals dying through other circumstances or situations, and not of a purported monster as as the Chupacabra was allegedly. In the late 2010s, there were even claims of Chupacabra attacks in eastern India, but upon further observation, medical experts later dismissed the claims of the Chupacabras due to examinations of the deceased animals claimed to have been killed by the Chupacabras, while none of it matched the reported carcass conditions originally seen from the island of Puerto Rico. One of the most shocking revelations were that the accounts made by Madeline Tolentino, as the descriptions she gave were actually based off an American science fiction film she had recently seen, being that of Species, originally released in July of 1995, as her claims were made just a month after seeing the film. It was later speculated that due to the shock and surprise of the sudden encounter, she mistakenly took the unknown shape of what might have been there and mentally imprinted the fictional monster of the film into the guise of what is now considered to be a chupacabras to help give her an image for her to understand what was in front of her eyes. The first modern quote-unquote sighting of what was later considered to be that of a chupacabra is therefore completely invalid, and with it discounted, it was more than likely that the animal killings were related to other means, but not a mysterious creature as what was considered to be that of an unknown creature throughout the mid to late 1990s, and other claims from Central South America were also more than likely misclassifications of various sorts. As to what the cases of the animal deaths through Puerto Rico in the 1970s, 1990s, on Central and Southern America, or even the southeastern United States were possibly more than likely coyotes or wolves, affected with some sort of disease or unkept fur, which could have changed their appearance onto the eyes of a frightened or untrained individual might look like some sort of unknown creature. Whatever the chupacabras is or was, the mystery of the creature is nothing like when it first was reported and speculated about in the mid to late 1990s in Puerto Rico.